this week I'm by myself, which is weird because usually I have Mike and Kevin and also get here, but I figured I would just do one by myself. And welcome to the first episode of the Spooktober, or Brooktober, I like to call it. But yeah, first off, this is the last month. This is going to be the end of season 1. So if you haven't listened to any of the other episodes from this season, well, listen to those before listening to these last few episodes of the season 1, because I highly recommend it. And I also wanted to start off by saying thank you to everyone that has shown their support for this podcast. Yeah, I always wanted to do this ever since I was a little kid. I was always fascinated about radio and how people do it, how they can perform in front of so many people, even though it's being recorded on an audio track or video, just inspiring so many people, which you can hear my whole story in the Broken Hearted Cast backstory episode. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But yeah, so this is the first episode of Brooktober, and this week we're going to be talking about just a quick episode about one of my favorite horror movies, or horror movies in general. Maybe I'll move on to some ghost stories, I don't know, because who knows what these episodes, they can go from one thing to the next, so yeah. Ever since I was a little kid, I never really liked horror movies or anything that has to do with horror franchise, like Halloween. I was deathly afraid of any Tim Burton movie. Literally, I would be afraid of Night Before Christmas until I was I think 13 or 10, when I just got into those types of movies. I finally watched my first Tim Burton movie at the age of 10 or 13, I think. And I always I was fascinated about it. I'm wow, this is not that scary as I thought it was. Because as a little kid, your memory is wide, it's expanded, and the childhood I had, I was not a socially awkward child, but was afraid of just about anything. So coming into these franchises such as Tim Burton movies and the Conjuring movies, Insidious, Blumhouse Productions, and all these horror movies, I realized that they're all fake. They're all imagination of what's in our mind, and we shouldn't really be afraid of horror movies. I was watching the It movie, the newest It movie, the remaster, whatever. The word just escaped from me. Oh, jeez. The remake of the It movie. I watched it a few days after it came out, and I loved it. I got scared, I think once or twice during the whole movie. That was just for the major scares. It wasn't that scary. It was a good horror aspect movie. I'm deathly afraid of clowns. I'm not afraid of saying that. I am terrified of clowns. Ever since I was a kid, that has always stuck with me. That's a phobia of mine. Just riding rides at amusement parks. And at first I was I don't want to watch it. I still want to watch it, but I don't know exactly if I really want to put myself through that trauma of watching a movie that's literally a main antagonist that is a clown terrifying little kids. But my sister and I just kind of she kind of forced me into watching it because she didn't really have anybody else to, and she knew that I secretly wanted to watch it because I've been following production of it, and I know some of the actors that are in the movie because I've seen them from Stranger Things and so forth. So I secretly kind of want to watch it. So while I was watching it, there was a woman right behind us that kept on laughing. every single time that there was a scary scene, like a jump scare or something, she would just start laughing so hard. And that kind of relieved everybody in the auditorium of all the scares. I was still deathly afraid of Pennywise, but you know, you get used to it as the movie comes on. And they made the It movie, the newest one, in such a way that the very first jump scares are the worst. Then it gets lighter as time goes on because you're receiving it through the kids' eyes. So as the movie goes on, the kids are becoming less afraid of Pennywise and their bullies. So I guess that makes sense. I really love the way that they did that. They did some aspects of Baby Driver as well, like some of the noise cues and stuff like that. Because if you haven't seen Baby Driver, I highly recommend it. I'll talk about that in another episode. They did a fantastic way that they did movies, the Baby Driver movie, because they made the music go in tune with what's going on, what you're seeing, and the noise cues of, like, the gunshots. They rang in time with the music that you're hearing through his ears, and it's just good. That I will talk about in another episode. But yeah, the movie It was a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend go watching it. It's a good horror movie to watch for, like, just to experience it, because it's one of those classic horror movies that you just have to watch before you die, basically. You don't have to watch the Tim Curry version of it, but there was some parts in the movie that whenever I was watching the It movie that I thought that the person that was playing Pennywise, I thought it was actually Tim Curry, because the way that, I think his name is Bill Skarsgård, the way that he portrayed Pennywise, he seemed exactly like Tim Curry. Like, he's just down to the teeth. Like, he kind of laughed like him and acted in such a way that you could feel that he tried to put the most of being Tim Curry into Pennywise, just to get that old familiarity of that character and the lovable Tim Curry. So, but anyways, I'm gonna move on to another whole movie aspects. The one that I would like to talk about is movies. The whole movies are based off of true stories. Like, actually, trying to think. Nightmare on Elm Street. There was a really old, faint horror story that happened in a town that kids kept on having nightmares, and they kept on dying in their sleep. And it basically, they took that aspect of the news elements from that story and they pushed it as in, alright, let's just have it be the teacher dying in a horrible factory aspect and him haunting these kids and killing them because he knew who actually framed him for that murder or whatever he did in the movies and tried to get revenge on it. And the ones I like to talk about, actually, not Nightmare on Elm Street, but the ones that had a demonic presence, such as The Conjuring and The Exorcist and so forth, whatever movies else that I forgot to list. Honestly, I love The Conjuring movies ever since they, like, even before they came out. I was a fan of Ed and Lorraine Warren. They are still technically my heroes still today because of what they did. And I feel like that The Conjuring movies did show what profound heroic acts that they did in their life. Lorraine's still alive. Ed has passed on. But like they showcased what they technically did in their life. They hunted ghosts, they hunted demons, and like they tried to help people while doing it, and to show the world like, hey, there's more to life than what we perceive there is. And ever since I was a little kid, I hated horror movies, but yet I was always into ghost stuff, which is a weird combination now I'm thinking about it and actually talking about it out loud. But yeah, Ed and Lorraine Warren has always been my heroes because just the way that they, like what I just said, they show the world that there's more to life than what we perceive it to be, and anybody can be who they want to be in life. You don't have to be like the star athlete to be who you want to be, and you don't have to be normal to become what you want to be. You can be disabled, you can be mentally not there, you can have a trauma to you, which is basically the same as mentally, but you can have a trauma and you can do what you want to do in this life. And they did it perfectly in the movies. The movies itself, yeah, they did overreact a lot of what happened, because I heard about the two movies that they made, well, the two actual events that they made into those movies, The Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2. I read about those cases way before they pushed them onto the big screen, and I remember while watching it, like, that didn't happen like that. Why is, like, at the beginning of Conjuring 2, I'll take this for example, at the beginning of Conjuring 2, everybody knows that they investigated the Amityville house, which, if you don't know what the Amityville house is, I'll talk about that later in a later episode with probably Garrett and Kevin, because the Amityville house is a very complicated story, kind of, and I'll throw in some extra details, and I'll throw in some Psycho and Bates Motel stuff into that episode as well, because it's kind of connected and it kind of came out around the same time. I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, because it was around that time that the events happened in Amityville. But short rundown, some murders has taken place there, and another family moves in. Weird stuff is going on in that house that they're living in now, and the parents believe, just like about everybody that was living there, believe that there was some demonic presence, multiple ghosts there taunting that family. So they went public, and they was like, hey, our house was haunted by these people that have died there, which only happened like a year or two prior to that. So a lot of people believe it's fake. A lot of people believe it's actually happened, that they was not making up that story. I looked on both sides, and I still don't know. Well, even I do know, I don't know. I honestly have no idea about that case. But anyways, as I was saying, at the beginning of Conjuring 2, you see Ed and Lorraine talk about, and they're actually investigating Amityville horror house, and like they picked up in the last movie, like, hey, we got a call from Long Island, they want us to check it out. You see that them investigating that house in the beginning of Conjuring 2, which is a good plot point for any movie. So it just seems like that, it just happened like a few months ago, like in between movies. So, but yeah, at the beginning of Conjuring 2, you see them investigating in the Amityville horror house, and Lorraine, she goes and she's a psychic, very in tune psychic, and she goes into a different state of mind where she can see and try to recreate what happened and why the ghost is still there. So they did it kind of beautifully in the movie. And like, I never really seen it in a horror movie before. I forgot to say something about the It movie that I really enjoyed, but I'll probably say that for later, or I'll save that for the end of the episode. But they pushed it into, it was like the further from Insidious, because it is from the same creators and the same writers as Insidious. So I guess Lorraine kind of went into the fairy. It was a weird crossover, but I believe that she went into the fairy in The Conjuring 2. If not, then prove me wrong, please. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts about that. But anyways, so she went into the fairy. I'm just gonna call it that to make it easier for everybody, even for me. So she went into the fairy and she kept on following around this little kid. The little kid that is really famous. There's a really famous picture from Amityville about this kid peeking his head out from the doorway. That's the only picture of a spirit that was taken there by the investigators itself, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's a few more, but that's like the most profound one that everybody has seen and knows. So they took that kid and they put him in the movie, obviously, because they had to. But yeah, so Lorraine's like following around this little kid trying to figure out what exactly happened there. And so she finds out what happens there, and some demon tries to attack her, so she smacks back into reality. And she tells Ed, like, really dramatically, you know, how the actress is. If you don't know who the actress is, she plays the mom in Bates Motel. And if you haven't seen Bates Motel, she did other movies, but I can't remember what it was. I see her in the other movies, but I cannot for the life of me remember who her actress is. The guy that plays as Ed, who Lorraine tells what happened in her further experience. He is Patrick Wilson. He's gonna be in It Chapter 2, I believe, because they just announced the cast. And he was in Insidious and a whole bunch of other horror movies that you can just... And he's a very funny guy. He's a very down-to-earth person, because he was in a few comedies recently that I love the actor, to be honest with you guys. Patrick Wilson, I think his name is. He's very... I believe he's a very down-to-earth person, so... If not, then... Oh, well, I'm wrong. Whenever we've been wrong in this podcast, every chance we get to be wrong, we say it loud and proud. So people that's listening to this can correct us and be like, no, you stupid. This is an actual fact of the matter. The Conjuring series so far, I don't know if there's going to be a Conjuring 3. I'm not even going to talk about the Annabelle movies because, to be honest with you, I hated them. They took the story that we know and they're like, oh no, let's just create a whole backstory for Annabelle, a character that is never ever going to come back to the Conjuring series ever again, and let's portray her as a different doll from what she actually is, and let's make her up a whole backstory that is not true. Got it? Good. Let's make a movie about it. Yeah. So they really overemphasize on Annabelle. I mean, not Amityville. Annabelle. I hated the Annabelle movies. I don't know why. There's something about them I just don't like. Just by itself, yes, maybe. But I know the backstory to Annabelle and The Conjuring and the Rain one. And that whole story, so I'm like, Annabelle wasn't that scary. It wasn't like, oh hey, here's a character that you enjoyed so much from the first movie. Here you go. Even though she only had like 10 minutes of screen time, here you go. It's like the Baby Driver with like the famous cop and the posters. Yeah, that cop only got like 5 minutes of screen time, if not only 5 minutes. So I hate it whenever they do that. Like, oh hey, they build up a whole character in the trailers and everything, and then like, oh no, he only had like 5 minutes of screen time, just like the Joker from Suicide Squad, basically. But then again, they have a perfect reason for it. They had to cut a lot of his parts out. But anyways, so as I'm only gonna make this like a 20-minute episode because I want to get out of here. To be honest with you guys, it's been actually a really short day, but it's been a long week for me. But yeah, thank you guys for all your support recently. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that I haven't been uploading as much as we normally do, because of our schedules and it being just about the end of semester in college, because we're all in college, if you guys haven't noticed. If you haven't realized that yet, go watch the other episodes. We basically tell you straight up, like, yeah, we're in college and stuff. So, but the one thing I wanted to talk about, the It movie that they did perfectly, that I never really seen it in any movie besides It, I don't believe. And a lot of people actually loved it because of what they did. In the It movie, to make it more scary and to make it more dramatic, they took, how am I going to explain this? They took the camera and they focused it on his head, and every movement that Pennywise did, it only focused on his head. The only thing that was perfectly still was his face and his head. Everything around him, even his body, they've shifted to the way that he moved, which is weird to say. Just look up the dancing scene for on the It movie. There's a scene at the very end where he starts to dance, and you see everything around him but his face starts to shift and going in tune with how he's dancing. Watch that scene, or watch the scene where Georgie randomly appears yelling at his brother that you'll float too. Whenever Pennywise rises up from the water and chases after Ben. Yeah, chases after Ben down in the basement, which is a Don't Be Afraid of the Dark reference, I think. Or Don't Be Afraid of the Dark reference, that scene from It. Whichever one. Oh, it's not even a reference at all. I don't know. Again, I didn't even get into Goosebumps and Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, because this is a part of my childhood that I was not even afraid of. Now looking back at it now, I don't know why everybody was afraid of that as a little kid. Those shows were not that. No, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark was, not gonna lie. No, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark was creepy. Goosebumps was not at all. It was just cheesy jokes and cheap scares. Sorry to burst everybody's childhood bubble, but that's all I wanted to do for this episode. My voice has been out again. I don't know. I just got up a few hours ago, so that's probably why I didn't really get a lot of sleep like I normally do. I don't really get a lot of sleep in general for other reasons. I'm not gonna say that. I just wanted to thank you guys again so much for you guys' support for this podcast, and there is gonna be a lot more this month. Then we're gonna probably take a 2 or 3 week break for in between, because that's our end of semester. There'll be episodes for all this month, but at October 31st, no, yeah, November 3rd will be the last episode. No, October 31st will be the last episode of season 1, and that'll wrap up everything that we did in season 1. Then we'll take like a month break. Then it'll be season 2, and I believe season 2, I think it's gonna be Christmas time, so we might just like start it off with Christmas themed episodes. Military episode, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a military episode, because I already got the interview that we need for that episode, so be aware of a military episode coming out sometime this month or next month. There'll be like a really quick episode. So, sorry again if like this one has been kind of like a ramble sense, but yeah, season 1 so far has been a blast for me. Like I said in the backstory episode, that I've always wanted to do this, so I appreciate all of you guys and everybody that has helped me get to this point, and actually push me to doing this type of stuff, because that's what I'd love to do in the future. And like now is to do these podcasts and to do more with YouTube and videos and making people smile and making people laugh and inspiring others, because that's what I like to do. I don't like the fame. I don't like being called a hero. I just want to do what I normally like to do in person. Is just making people smile, making people laugh, inspiring others. If I can't do it through podcasts, I'll do it through videos on YouTube, because my friend and I have been trying to work patiently to try to come up with a way to broadcast us playing games on through YouTube live stream, which I know I can do, but we have 2 people and 1 mic, so I might get a headphone splitter and then get another microphone and connect the 2 together into the port of the controller on the PS4. I'm gonna try to do it that way. If not, then I'll try to figure out another way, because I want to expand the Broken Hearted cast into Broken Hearted Gaming, which is a YouTube channel that I created a year or 2 ago, which I'll talk about in another episode. What exactly Broken Hearted Gaming is and what I picture it to be in the future. Broken Hearted Cast will always be here, and just like this is just the end of season 1, there's gonna be a ton more seasons, because I wanted to also integrate into Broken Hearted Gaming as well and post these episodes not only to SoundCloud but also to YouTube, to wherever the next posting videos site is, because YouTube is going down the drain now, kind of. But yeah, even if I had to post it to Facebook, I would, because I just want to have people, like what I keep on saying, like get inspired, get emotionally attached to what they want to do in the future, what they want to do now, and to tell people that there's always somebody out there for you to go to, even if you have to watch them through a screen, even if you have to listen to them, to their voices. But yeah, so thank you for all your support recently. I meant to do a whole live stream. I might actually do that whenever I get home, actually. I meant to do a live stream about saying thank you and brief updates about what's going on in our lives right now. But thank you again so much for the opportunity for doing these. And it's approaching 30 minutes, so I'm going to get out of here and probably do the live stream. So thank you everybody for listening to this episode. This has been Brayden, and this whole series so far has been Broken Hearted Cast. We really talk about life, the universe, and everything in between. And I hope you had a fantastic time listening to this, whatever day that you're listening this to. And I will hear all of you guys on the next one. Peace out.